All right, so the first thing I like to do when designing a comp plan is tie people to what they're actually responsible for. So in most agencies, consulting firms, B2B service firms, which is who we actually work with as private clients inside Hydra, it really comes down to either generating or keeping revenue. So I like to incentivize directly on that. And the reality is I want to keep them growing the amount of gross profit that their business unit generates. Now, what is a business unit? I like to define this as a department or a pod, for example, where someone might be leading a department or a team, and that business unit or that group of clients or that team generates a specific amount of revenue. So, what I like to do is build a spreadsheet off of this, and this is the most simplistic version that we can really look at. So basically on this sheet, we have our client names here and we have our retainer price sold. So if you're working on an MRR type model where we charge people monthly for our services, that would go here. And then we also have this performance revenue and performance fee. So if you run more of a growth partner model where you take a percentage of the upside or a percentage of the growth, that is where this goes. So for example, if I said example client and I said that we did 100,000 in performance revenue and we take 5% of that, and then also we have a $5,000 retainer, you can see that we pulled down 5K in performance fees and 10 grand in revenue, right? So basically when we come down here to pod profitability analysis, all right, so you can see that this client roster, even though it's a client roster of one, supports 15,000 in revenue, right? Now, the problem with that, now that doesn't factor in the costs. So we're going to have positions here for this. So I'm going to say senior strategist is one of our positions, and we're going to say this is Sally, and Sally's monthly salary is $7,000 a month, right? 84K per year. So we can see our annual salary total, 84K, 7,000 a month, $43 an hour, and the total pod revenue is 15K a month, right? Now, if we just had Sally on the team, that's a 53% gross profit margin. We bring down about 8 grand in gross profit per month. Now, what I'm going to do from here is say, hey, this is Sally, and Sally's going to get 10% of gross profit that the pod generates, and that's going to work out to $800, 8,000, 10%, $800. Now, if I'm going to pay this quarterly, that's going to be $2,400 a quarter. If I'm going to pay this annually, it's $9,600 a year. And typically what I'll do is I'll have some sort of a hurdle rate or a KPI that they have to clear to be eligible for this bonus to be paid out. So for example, I might say, hey, it's 10% of gross profit, but we also have to support under 8% monthly revenue churn across your client roster looking back over that quarter. And that's really how we make it conditional and once again incentivize a gross profit, meaning if Sally's leading this department, I'm going to say, okay, how many more clients can I add to this? How can I improve the systems within my department? How can I improve everyone's output within my department? How can I manage better? And then also, how can I retain my clients that are currently in this pod? So it doesn't really matter what type of service-based business you run. This is a popular model that I really, really like. Now, you can see how this effectively becomes a mini profit and loss statement for this department. So I like to have almost an individual business unit P&L where I can see what the revenue, what the expenses are for a specific business unit. Now, this gives me clarity on what business unit is actually generating the most amount of gross profit, and that'll uncover to me where focus should go, where new clients should go to, so I can get the overall profitability up of a different business unit if it's lagging behind. So that's just one thing that I like to look at. So this gives people true ownership over their business unit. But what if I have multiple team members that I really want to have in a performance-based structure in addition to their base? Well, we have to make this model a little bit more robust. So this is a model that I built for a client that was actually doing paid media and creative, but they took a percentage of the upside. But we also wanted to incentivize everyone within that pod to get compensated. So for example, I'm going to just have my example client. And for example, this this is the paid media side, right? So they had a goal that they needed to set at the beginning of the month for what they actually wanted to pull down. And final spend, let's say we exceeded that goal, right? Now the spend threshold was $100,000, which is basically saying, hey, I don't get paid on a performance basis until we clear this threshold that the client was at before they even came on with us, because some clients are going to have a problem paying you if, they already made that progress before they hired you, if that makes sense. So for example, what you can see here, this sheet accommodates both percentage of spend or percentage of gross profit on a performance basis, but you can see that my net performance to target is $100,000. Now, what is that? It's the final spend minus the spend threshold. That gets me to 100K. So I'm 133% to my target, right? Now, the retainer price sold, let's say they're on a $7,500 a month retainer plus our percentage of spend, which we're going to put at 5%. So what you can see here is that I'm pulling down $5,000 in performance fee, right? 5% of the 100K. You can see my gross revenue. This is my retainer price sold plus my performance fees, total gross revenue. Now, I'm only going to pay out a bonus though on the payout eligible revenue, which is my performance fee revenue. Now, I have this payout tier here as well, which is set at 20%. Probably like, how are we getting that 20%? Well, I have my payout tiers down here as well. So if, for example, someone gets above 100% target, once again, our goal here, but under 120%, they get this payout. If it's 120% to 140%, they get this. If it's over 140% to target, they get this amount. So you can see that this drives not only performance, but also accountability to our clients' targets to make them win. So for example, hey, we can go to client and say, hey, we exceeded goal by 140% instead of maybe baseline, hey, we hit target performance, because there's extra incentive for the team to get there. Once again, show me the incentive, I'll show you the outcome. So basically this unlocks $1,000 worth of bonus available, 20% of 5K, $1,000. All right, so now you can see that this bonus pool has been created down here below, which is $1,000, which if I scroll over is my total bonus available. Now, what I'm going to look at here is what the bonus allocation should be. And I'm establishing these bonus allocations based on who has the biggest impact on actually getting my clients to their end results. So for example, I have a senior media buyer, junior media buyer, a growth marketing manager, account manager, and copywriters and video editors. And you can see how these bonus allocations are split up for a total of 100%, right? We obviously can't go over 100% because there's only 100% of this bonus pool available, right? So $1,000, this is how we're going to split that up across these. Now, once again, if we had a full client roster up here with accurate performance fees, it's obviously going to be more than $1,000. This is going to be completely based on your business. So this is just for example's sake here. Now, if I come down to the pod profitability analysis, this is the same section that you saw on the last spreadsheet that we went through. And I have all of my positions here and their salary here. Now, in this specific example, we had a director that was sitting over a few pods. So they were only 33% billable to this pod, meaning that they were 33% of their time was allocated to this business unit, right? So I'm going to load that in here as well, but a little bit of a fringe case. So long story short, we see the total annual salaries of this pod. We see how much it costs to support this pod per month, hourly, and then also what the total cost is plus bonuses, and that's going to give me my pod gross profit margin. Now, this is a low pod gross profit margin. I'm obviously wanting to see this over 70, 80% is typically where I like it, not the focus of this video, but you can see how this whole calculator really shakes out and allows you to see, okay, if my team performs as they should on the clients that they have, how much can I pay them and incentivize them to get better results and increase their income in the process. And for the sake of this example, I just threw in a bunch of retainer values, so this wasn't wildly negative. And this is really how I go ahead and design compensation structures for teams, for businesses, and for myself. on aligning the incentive with the outcome. And the closer that you can get to this, the better results your business is going to have, the better talent you're going to attract at your company. Because if you're just offering base salaries and there's no opportunities to improve, it's going to be really, really tough to attract high performance talent. So I'm a fan of having a base salary, but also have significant upside, especially if this person is motivated by money. If you vet out in the interview process that that's something very, very key to them, which for a lot of high performers it is, this compensation structure is going to reward them for that. And long story short, I'm concerned about how much gross profit that employee can generate and giving them a piece of that upside. So it honestly makes them somewhat of an intrapreneur, different from an entrepreneur, in that entrepreneurs obviously start the thing, take the risk, but intrapreneurs act as entrepreneurs within a company, and they can have significant upside, but they need to take part in that upside to really be bought in. So that's all for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.